now the stream. All right, so that should be up and running at the moment. Check out the bandwidth, drop frames, wonderful 0% so far. That's excellent. That's what we want to see going forward. High quality video, high quality audio, good frame rate. And what about now if I start with Facebook? What's gonna happen? All right, so I got a notification there. All right, so let me start this and see what happens. So that's connecting. All right, so I'm currently just testing out the bandwidth of the internet and see if it's able to stream, how to stream my videos. In the coming days, and even starting from now, there are a lot of issues, a lot of things I want to speak about. There, we are in a serious time in our country, and it's a time for us to really think deeply about what is it that we expect as a people. We need to measure things and be very principled about it, not just based on emotions, not just based on a biased point of view, because there's this concept of democracy, and democracy is where the majority has a say. And for it to really be, democracy, it means that somewhere along the line, the persons involved in the process must be able or should be able to rationally think about the decisions or choices they're going to make on behalf, not for themselves alone, right? Because your decision impacts the life of others, in a sense. So it is not fair in a democracy, so to speak, whereby there are those who are thinking seriously about the choices they're going to make, and then there are those who don't really care, they're just going to make a choice. How is that really democracy or fairness? If you understand what I'm saying, because the majority decisions basically dictates the outcome. So that's just me. I'm actually testing out and stuff. So what are some things that I have on my mind, and there's a lot to speak about, especially about which political party I'm going to be supporting, and or I'm supporting, and so on, and the reasons for that, and why would you want others to support those parties. We're going to have times we're going to talk about issues of life, relationships, marriage. Sometimes we're going to talk about education, and there's so many issues and stuff and so on. I know there's a lot of people persons saying a lot of things too and so on, and what I recognize is that everybody don't listen to everybody, and I know there might be a few that might listen to me and stuff, and and for those I think I need to speak, and give some wisdom and encouragement along the way. So let me see how the feed is looking on Facebook. I'm looking at my frame rates right now, and I'm monitoring it. I haven't dropped any frame, so it seems to be working fine. My CPU usage is kind of about 3%. For those who might be interested, if you have questions about what I'm using, technology I'm using, and stuff and so on, right, feel free to drop me a message and so on. Right, so basically I'm trying to stream to YouTube, Facebook, and record locally, right? And I'm just trying to ensure that the quality is good, the sound is good, the video is good. Right, so there's an event coming up. You would have lost a friend, pastor, down toward, I consider a young man, but right, a few days from now we're going to have a night of reflection and funeral on Saturday. It's a sad thing to lose someone, especially someone of quality. I have a lot of stories I could share. I know a lot, but a lot of impactful stories. Maybe that this brother would have had an impact in my life. But I'm gonna do that a little bit later, but in a more structured way or so on. Right now I'm just testing out the technology. I think that's about it. And I guess I'm gonna just be mumbling a few things now again as I check and see how things are working. So I just want to Sure that so that's it. Excellent. I should copy this stream. And share my phone. How this looks. Yeah, everything. Actually streaming on Facebook. So much of this. Stream on 25. I'm going to go live on Facebook. It's not on Facebook. Let's see. Let me see. So guys, hey guys, I think I'm going like this. So I've been talking about things that I'm going like this. Face streaming software. All right. All right. So let me see that. Stop this. Start. Okay, connect. Wi-Fi. Okay, URL. Run. That's what I run this thing. See it to me. Saw no changes. Connecting. Arrow field to connect. Alright, so all right, so it's actually up there. Okay, down. Share like your wrestling video. Okay. That's the connection. Action. That's out. Here it is. So that right people necessary then I click on go live. Alright, go live. Great. So that's like, I guess it's what. All right, so I'm basically testing out my internet connection and ability to do live stream. I'm trying to stream YouTube and Facebook at the same time. I want to kind of get an idea of the quality of the sound, the quality of the video. One if I'm going to be dropping frames. At the same time, I'm recording locally. And so basically, it's just a test run, so to speak. Getting familiar with the software and stuff like that, setup and so on. The record, my name is Sergio Joseph. I am a teacher and educator by profession. I also do a lot of technical work in terms of electrical technology. I fix a phone here and there, work with computers, hardware, so on. I kind of problem solver, if I have to fix my car, fix a car, do what I have to do. I can't get this. So I don't imagine time when I basically send the work to others and so on. But again, why is that so? The connection successful. I guess now. Drop frames, 0%. So I have this connection there. Yes. That's basically checking out. I gotta build some this space. And that was 6 gigs available, so I decided on building space. So yeah, because I have an event coming up in a few days from now. That I want to record and also live stream at the same time. So I'm just prepping and preparing for it. I'm prepping and preparing for it. Alright. So you hear me loud and clear? Drop a comment, let me know if the video quality. I'm saying, how do you see your own Facebook? I can try to put it on for you there. Let me see if I can lock the one. You can see my phone. That's somebody's Facebook. Okay, I store it. So I'm going to store it. Let's see. What should I read it? Doing this thing, please. Oh, some reading. Noise like. As I said, I'm basically testing out sounds. Exact quality. Am I dropping frames on Facebook? As I said, I'm basically testing out sounds. Video frame. Static in the background, noted. I don't know where I'm getting that thing. Alright, let me see how I can get this sound better. So, how are we singing now? You know, there's some coming from a computer. Could be. Yes, exactly. Fine for a little while. All right, so silent back with the fan a little. Working on silent mode. Yeah. All right, so silent back with the fan a little. Working on silent mode. Yeah. Seems like he's fun, but real boy, come with the fan really noisy. All right. Tell me if it's sounding better. Appreciate the feedback. I appreciate the feedback. Oh boy. Somebody thought I was about to announce I'm running for presidency. Who knows? Who knows? I guess, you have to have that ambition because it's either two things. Either you submit yourself to be, you know, ruled by others or you do the ruling. I guess that's how life is. So you gotta decide how it looks. If I have good leaders, I don't mind, being led. All right. Tell me if the song is sounding better. I kind of get a feeling it is without the static. If that fun on my computer is giving it feedback, but I'm gonna have other ways to record audio later. Right, well, at least I'm not gonna run my computer in silent mode. All right, folks. As I said, I'm just testing out. In the coming days, I'm gonna be dropping a lot of videos. I'm gonna be talking about politics. I'm gonna be talking about education. I'm gonna be talking about God, talking about church, talking about issues that are affecting me, maybe personally to an extent. A lot of people don't know much about my business because I don't know how I live like that. But I realize it's important that we share sometimes to help others. All right, but now is an important season in our country, as an important season in our community. It's that political season whereby, a lot of persons have a lot of views and a lot of feelings about who you represent and who you're standing for. And I guess when you share those opinions, there's going to be a lot of, once I say, reaction, sometimes overreaction, because some people care so much, which is good. But at the end of the day, I think the most important thing is that I was saying it earlier, but I don't think it was streaming on Facebook, is that, politics, deciding who our leaders are, it's a democratic process, meaning to some extent that, you first have the right to do it. And secondly, it is based on, the majority. So I could like a certain individual to be president as much as I want to, but if the majority says no, then that can't happen. And because it is set up like that, I think it is very important as Guyanese, as a people, that we recognize that we must give it some thought, because your decision does not impact your own life, which that should be something to think about in the process, but your decision also impacts the life of others. So what I'm really saying here is basically, for example, you might be benefiting a lot, right, from the government as it is today, as an individual. But then you must still have that sense to look over to recognize that a lot of persons are not benefiting. And hence, your decision for a leader or a government should not be based on your own personal experience alone. If you get the point I'm making, you have to consider the others, which might be the majority on the outside, right? So, coming into this season, there's a lot of things I want to encourage people to think about. I want to tell you who I'm voting for, who I'm representing, and I want to convince you, right, or persuade you, to follow me down the same path, right, down the same path. And I'm going to be honest with you, you can never talk about politics without hurting people's feelings, you understand, right? But I'm not doing it for the sake of hurting feelings, but I want to be principled and stick to the truth. And sometimes, truth is based on the kind of information that you have sometimes. So sometimes I might share with you a perspective that might not be the full picture, but that's the perspective that I'm seeing. You might be standing from a different position and seeing more than I'm seeing, or even seeing less, right? But, you got to respect, to some extent, this is the perspective that I'm looking from. And maybe both of us are, looking from the same perspective, but we interpret the information a little different too. So, that is just how life is. And it is one of those things that, we must be free to speak about. We must have the environment where those dialogues could share, where, arguments and debates can happen. I'm not shunning away from a debate. I'm not shunning away from arguments or saying something that might be totally wrong. I may have to apologize later for, but that is the way that we need to operate in this time, because it's very important that all perspectives are shared, because all that information is needed for us to make a democratic decision, a decision that would impact not only your life, but the life of the entire country, and to some extent the world. Want to know how the world, because if you guys don't realize that Diana has the sweetest oil according to the the quotes around the place, and everybody wants a piece of this pie. And so the leaders that we basically choose or select or elect, our decision actually impacts the world, right? So I think I've finished test with this audio. Right, you could leave some more feedback if it is sounding good, if it is looking clear. And it's good to see that I have a few followers, I never, because I don't usually come here and say nothing much. So I feel good to see a couple people done logging and stuff. I don't know how the algorithm works and Facebook posts these things and so on, but it's good to see some families and friends and stuff that tuned in. I sorry I didn't come with a prepared, not a prepared message, but to basically have a long discussion, right? And I just basically want to test the technology. On a sad note, we would have lost a close brother, a close friend, Pastor Stephen Gomes. And, he was one of those individuals, I'm not his wife or his daughter that could actually speak of who he was in the home, but I could speak to who he was out in public. Right, and he's one of those cool, calm guys that in every situation, he speaks it, nothing, never hear him raising his voice and trying to be loud, and so on. And he always have this calm way of addressing things and saying what needs to be said. I had the privilege of maybe witnessing him speak at a few maybe funerals and maybe a few church service and stuff, and he did deliver his messages, very calm, and he was just a cool guy. He was a cool guy, and in the future I'm going to share some stories how he would have really impacted my life and my, trajectory, so to speak, or the person that I am or becoming, right? Because it's a journey I have not attained, right? It's a journey for me personally, but since I was a youth, he would have, they've said a few things to me and would have offered me a few experiences that I'm going to share, maybe in another video that is more organized and tailored to talk about that. But I want us to ensure that we tune in on, right? You could check my YouTube channel, right? On Friday evening, there's a night of reflection, right? It's supposed to start around 7 p.m. thereabout. And on Saturday is the funeral service. So we might have another live stream around 11:30. Right, 11:30 a.m. So that's what I'm basically doing right now, basically testing out the technology, ensuring that I'm able to do that which is needed in terms of streaming it with a high quality, proper sound, so to speak. And that's it in a nutshell, folks. Thank you for tuning in. I'm going to end this stream and see what other improvements I could make. You're going to hear more about politics and everything else, sometime soon. But pray for me, pray for my family, pray for the family of the bereaved, pray for this community, Bartica. And just pray that at the end of the day that we have a good government come September 4th. Right, so that's all, folks.